So the Washington Post is gone. The Los Angeles Times is gone. The New York Times is lost in the wilderness of its own making. So here we are. It's down to us. It's down to Democrats. So the question remains, what are Democrats going to do? Well, one thing they can do, and they'll have a perfect opportunity tonight at Donald's remarks in front of a joint session of Congress to demonstrate what they are willing to show the American people they are up for. So what I would say is don't go to a person. Don't show up. But if you do show up en masse, for the entire time he is speaking, that miserable, moronic, treasonous traitor, stand up and turn your back on him. Let's dive in. Good afternoon, and welcome to today's episode of the Nerd Avengers with me, the estimable Norm Ornstein, Brian Karam, and Danielle Moody. It is so wonderful to see you all, especially considering, holy cow. I think I can just say that every single time. Holy cow. It's just, yeah, well, maybe I shouldn't have said cows considering everything that's going on. But anyway, it's unrelenting, and we should be used to this by now. And there's no such thing as pacing ourselves anymore. And I think we just have to accept this, and that's fine. But I think, Norm, we're finding some opportunities here, and we're also seeing in a very heartening way our former allies standing up. I wanted to start with this because this just happened. As we know, at midnight last night, Donald and his absolutely benighted and absurd ideas about tariffs, because he doesn't know what they are, let them go into effect. I mean, we're going to talk about it in more detail later, but the increase in tariffs on our allies, Canada and Mexico, or I'd say former Mexico, I don't know what that is, yes, the Trumps renamed things randomly, apparently. So on Canada, Brian got it. So my day is made. Increased tariffs on our
Gulf of Mary's
allies.
coming next.
Well, yeah, Canada and Mexico, and increased tariffs on China. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work out, considering practically everything people buy in this country is from China. But Norm, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, why is he retiring? Had this to say about, we're going to play 3 clips, had this to say about what just happened at midnight last night.
Canada will be implementing 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods, starting with tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods immediately, and tariffs on the remaining $125 billion of American products in 21 days' time. I want to speak first directly to the American people. We don't want this. We want to work with you as a friend and ally. And we don't want to see you hurt either. But your government has chosen to do this to you.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
They have, I should say. They have chosen to do this to us. And having the Secretary of Agriculture tell people to go buy chickens if they don't like the price of eggs, that's not constructive. Here is Prime Minister Trudeau's second comment.
Now I want to speak directly to one specific American, Donald. Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, They point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
Okay, well, we are not going to agree on the even though you're a very smart guy thing, but I guess, people still feel the need to pull their punches. I don't know why. But also the fact that the Wall Street Journal, the Rupert Murdoch-owned Wall Street Journal, is saying straight out that this is stupid to Donald's face is good. And the fact that world leaders no longer have to pretend or feel like they no longer have to pretend to have any respect for the idiot who is inflicting so much damage, not just on them, but on, as Trudeau points out, the American people whom he purportedly leads.
So a few comments. First, I want to give a kudos. There'll be a couple of people today, but one is to Pamela Brown of CNN. Right before we started, I watched her interview a congressman from Florida named Carlos Jimenez, and she asked about the tariffs, and he said, and this is their talking point now, it's about the fentanyl, all the fentanyl coming in over the borders. They're trying to stop that. And Pamela Brown pointed out that less than 1% comes from Canada, and that's been dropped by 90% over the last month. Now, the likely successor to Justin Trudeau. And the one good thing that comes out of this is that the right-wing party in Canada, which used to be called the Progressive Conservative Party, was leading. And they're a Trumpist party now. And they're now falling behind because Trudeau's pushing back. Chrystia Freeland has said, here's one of the tariffs we'll impose, 100% tariff on Teslas. Good. But keep in mind that the big products that come in from Canada are lumber. Housing prices are going to go up significantly as a consequence of this. Autos and auto parts, and we've already seen not only the overall stock market plummeting, which is the one thing Trump will care about in this case, but the pricing, the stock price of auto companies is dropping dramatically as well. And there's energy. And as we've seen, Doug Ford, not a great guy overall, the premier of Ontario, say, you want to do this to us? We'll cut off the energy to the northeast part of the United States. The costs that we will basically have here as fruits and vegetables coming in from Mexico go up dramatically in price, not just eggs, but all of the fruits and vegetables we get are going to go up in price. So many of the auto parts for the autos that are basically manufactured here are coming in from Mexico, another big hit on the price of automobiles. These are things that the average American has to have, will have, needs in most cases to have. And this is all on Donald Trump, who has no understanding whatsoever. And I think this is real. He's not putting it on. He's just dumb. He learned nothing when he had other people sit in on his classes at Wharton, that what tariffs are and what they do. And the fact that all of these Republicans in Congress are towing the line, I think is going to backfire substantially on them if we handle it correctly.
Yeah. And yes, he's an idiot. And I think, Occam's razor, simplest explanation. That's it. So let's always start from that premise, shall we? Okay, I want to give a little bit background, Danielle, before I play a clip and then have you comment on the other side. As mentioned at the top of the show, the trade war kicked off. That completely unnecessary and gratuitous and destructive trade war, destructive and self-destructive trade war, kicked off at midnight last night. And the United States have 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada, 10% on Canadian energy products, which is going to work out really well for us, and 20% on all Chinese imports. This raises the average tariff on Chinese goods to 33%. 33%. So all of those Chinese goods people buy aren't going to be cheap anymore. That's up from 13% before Donald returned to office. A CBS News foreign correspondent, Remy Inocencio, has more. Check it out.
This is part of Trump's America First agenda, right? But America First will mean that America hurts as he tries to increase what he says is U.S. domestic production by making those imports from around the world more expensive. Taking a look at the U.S. market close, if you've got money in U.S. stocks, you are no doubt feeling the pain. Markets fell hard right after Trump announced those tariffs. The Dow down by 1.5% there. The S&P 500 down by 1.8, let's call it, and the Nasdaq down by more than 2.5%. For the Dow, this is actually its worst day so far this year for 2025.
Well, Danielle, the find out phase is just so much fun. And just before I get to you, I just want to just talk a little bit about the consequences. We saw what Canada is doing, but Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum announced that Mexico will hit back against the Donald's 25% tariffs on Mexican goods. Also, as Nor mentioned, that will make essential goods like food more expensive to the American people, which will also be made more expensive by the fact that we're not going to have any people picking our produce anymore. And the full list of targeted U.S. products will be revealed on Sunday, March 9th, something to look forward to. And China is also going to impose up to 15% tariffs on key U.S. agricultural goods like corn and soybean, which is yet another bonus for our farmers who are being hit probably harder than most people. And it's going to restrict exports to 15 U.S. companies, including defense contractors, not surprisingly, starting March 10th. So there we are. That's in addition to the $100 billion in tariffs Canada is imposing on U.S. imports over the next 21 days.
I mean, it's an extraordinary feat to take a economy that was the envy of the world, that had made considerable gains post-COVID, and tank it before your 100th day.
It's 42 days, Danielle. It's 42 days.
I mean, bravo. Like if the goal was to see how quickly you can destroy things and go in like a bull in a china shop that now has a tariff on it, then bravo.
Well, bulls are very stupid creatures. So yes, that tracks.
Here's the thing. I don't know why anybody would be surprised and shocked. Elon Musk told folks that Americans are going to have to endure, quote, necessary pain, right, in order to get our economy right. The economy was right under Biden, but everything that they projected that was bad about the Biden economy has now become the Trump economy, the Donald economy. And so here we are. I don't know if there's enough chickens to go around because they seem to be dropping like flies. So even if you were to decide to say, you know what, I'm going to turn my backyard into a fucking farm, like the American people, I can't, you have tens of thousands of civil servants that have been laid off. You have cuts coming to Social Security and Medicaid. You have now the prices of goods going through the roof. If this is not Les Miserables, if this does not look like all of the necessary ingredients for a revolution, I don't know what does. And I've said this so many times before. There's only so much that pressure that people can take before they burst. And so you've taken their jobs and livelihoods. People are selling their homes left and right in Washington, D.C. The housing market is collapsing. You're going to see that happen around the country, right? You now don't have a job. The price of goods are high. Grandma and grandpa can't stay in the nursing home. They got to come with you. You don't have money to hold I mean, it is 42 days. And you managed. I mean, Donald Trump is more like a fucking hurricane, tsunami, sharknado right now on the American people, on the globe than anything else. And the catastrophe that we are in and the world is in, the dollar is sliding right now as we speak, right? It's extraordinary. Extraordinary.
Yeah. And again, we're not lifting a finger. We're not burning anything down. We have no power. It's just happening. They fucked around. They're finding out. And guess what? They did it because they thought only we would get hurt. But everybody's going to get hurt. At least we're prepared because, as you said, we've seen this coming for about a decade now. And some people, probably like Norm, have seen this coming for much longer than that. So seriously, because
Norm
this
has
is
a long
not
sight.
because Norm has a long view in a way I certainly don't. And you know, if you look back, this did not happen in a vacuum. You know, the groundwork for this has been laid since Nixon, I think. Of course, I'm not going to speak for
Yeah.
Norm, but I'm pretty sure Norm
No.
knows everything. So I hope I'm in the ballpark there. But you know, none of this should be surprising. Certainly for those of us who've been paying attention, even for the last 4 years. But to your point about revolution, I've been wondering where the revolution is since 2000. Actually, you know, I went to a deep depression after that election, and then the illegal Iraq war and everything after that. I mean, why isn't there blood in the street? Not that I want there to be. I'm speaking metaphorically, but we, you know, Brian, we currently have a federal government that consists entirely of Javerts, and
You're being too literal. There are a lot of Scott Farkases.
I don't know who that is, and I'm sticking with
A Christmas Story, the movie, the bully with the yellow eyes.
Yeah, I never saw it, so I don't know if I should admit that publicly, but you know, I never saw it. So I think I was too old, I think, when it came out. Who knows? It doesn't matter. So let's not get sidetracked. But the point being that yes, these people are petty and laser focused on just being cruel in the most kind of creative, but also mundane ways, and they shouldn't be that difficult to counter. Obviously, we're out of power, but we should be able to think of something. And this in particular, like these tariffs, are so spectacularly wrong-headed. And the fact that he's been talking about this stuff for over 4 years now, and nobody has been able to manage to explain to him the very simple reality of what they are, makes me also wonder, like, why so many people continue to be just like, yes, whatever you say, sir.
Well, remember, plastic straws are back in fashion. We got rid of the
Thank goodness.
penny, and English is the official language, so there's that. But one of the things he's done about tariffs, and I want to specifically talk about something that Norm was talking about, those tariffs on lumber in Canada. Guess how Donald Trump is going to deal with that? Because he does have a plan, folks. He has ordered swaths of American forests to be felled for timber in response to that. And these are in an executive order. He has expanded tree cutting to go into national forests, preserved land, so that we can still have the lumber and keep the prices down. So there is a plan. You may not feel that as well, as hard as you might, but don't worry, because he fired all the people in the national forest. So if they catch fire and burn, remember Smokey the Bear said only you can prevent forest fires. Well, now only you can, because there's nobody else there, just two people.
That's right. And he was crying.
Yes. So he does have, but all of the plans that Donald Trump has implemented and all those that he has proposed result in the gutting of, the burning down, and the elimination of the things that protect Americans, the things that give them hope, like healthcare, decent economy, decent groceries. All of that is leveling, and that's why you're seeing the stock market tank, and that's why, quite frankly, you're seeing people, I can't tell you the number of Republican congressmen I've talked to just today who are going, I'm really not looking forward to tonight. And I say, well, FAFO.
Wait,
you did
so
this.
Brian, Republicans are saying that?
Yeah, there are Republicans who are saying it.
Poor things.
And here's the thing.
If only there was something they could do.
Yes, but that's, Mary, to your point, I'm tired of hearing it in private. I'm tired of hearing from these people going, this is horrible. And then when they get out on stage, they pucker up. And that's the whole problem in the White House. I can't stand listening to the PEP secretary anymore. I mean, press secretary. It's a pep rally every day. We're in that briefing room, no questions asked, unless it's something about it. Somebody wearing why aren't you wearing a suit to the White House? I don't know. Why aren't you bringing any common sense to the White House? So the tariffs are
Why
part
are you
and
bringing
parcel.
Marjorie Taylor Greene to the White House? Is my question.
Oh Lord, please no. I can live through only so much. But at the end of the day, the tariffs alone should be an indication. But come on, we've seen this since he walked down the golden stairs and announced his. If
They're
anybody
not
wasn't
gold.
able to
Weren't
say
golden. They were fake gold, like everything
yes,
else.
everything with him is fake. But at the point in time where he made fun of a disabled reporter, if that didn't tell you who the man was right then and there, then you're the mark. And
Well,
they
if it
continue
didn't
to
tell
be
you
the
who
mark.
people who continue to support him were,
Yes.
that was the bigger problem.
Yeah, and here's a question. I have 2 questions for Donald Trump, and by God, they won't let me in front of him. I've tried.
I'm shocked.
But here's why: are you still fundraising? Why? I still get emails every day. The Democrats are about to, indict me. They're about to, no, that's not happening.
Wow.
The Democrats. By the way, here's a great hat. By the way, I'm going to put you on my list, and you can come to Mar-a-Lago. So I wrote it back and said, I'll give you $5 if you show me the classified documents. I didn't get a response to that, but but he's still fundraising. He still hasn't answered questions about why he's fundraising. And of all the things that are going on in this administration, the straws, the pennies, and everything else, and the tariffs, I want to know one thing from Donald Trump. When are you going to admit any of it? And when are you going to admit that you stole classified? It'll never happen. They'll never take responsibility. Never will. He's going to blame Biden. And when this tanks, and it will, when the economy tanks, he's going to turn around and blame, in this order, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, the Democrats, and the fake media.
Actually, George Soros will come first.
Yes, absolutely.
Norm, I am always told I'm getting paid by George Soros.
Well,
and I'm
my
going,
check is
"Here's
late
the
this month,
paycheck."
and I count on that thing. But it's again, that's less the problem than the real problem, which is that people he tells that to will believe him. Yes, it's Biden who is. Sorry, Norm, go ahead.
Mary, we have to keep coming back to this as well. It's all about the grift.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Donald is now selling access, $5 million for a one-on-one meeting, $1 million for a round table with a bunch of others. And as Brian said, he's not running for anything again. This is just more grift. We have now wildfires that are consuming major parts of South Carolina. The fortunate thing for South Carolinians is that it's mostly rural. It's not like it was in LA. I haven't seen any statements about how they didn't clear the brush or they used up all the water. But what's important to remember about that is they are now moving to eviscerate the National Weather Service and NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration's ability to track weather. They are going to privatize it to AccuWeather or weather.com and get kickbacks in return. It is the Gilded Age taken to a new level. We have so much more. We have now this Bitcoin repository where we're taking taxpayer money to buy specific kinds of this currency so that David Sachs, the billionaire who is in charge of the crypto area, can make even more money. And you know what's going to happen? The prices of these particular coins will soar. Then they'll cash out the billionaires and leave behind the people who are fucked over because they bought into this. And they're still talking about taking gold from Fort Knox and exchanging it for cryptocurrencies.
Yes.
Talk about the dollar losing its status as a reserve currency. I mean, I want to mention something people should read if they can. James Fallows is a terrific journalist who has a Substack. And his most recent one is he's an aviation expert. He's long been a private pilot. That not only is Musk grifting to get his communications network, Starlink, into the FAA by bouncing Verizon, which means a whole new way of communicating, starting now with competing ones. So if you're a pilot, you don't know if you're communicating with the same link that your air traffic controllers are. They've eviscerated the ranks of the air traffic controllers, but also, as Fallows points out, which I hadn't thought about before, pilots, airlines rely on these weather forecasts. If you get winds moving in a particular direction, you may not be able to land without crashing. If you get rain coming in these flash storms, it could create a disaster. And
It's
they are
worse than that.
playing with fire here so they can make more money.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Brian, we've got to move on, but
Okay.
we can get back to this later because it is gobsmacking that anybody think that's okay or that that's safe or that's good for anybody. You know, I have a weather app. It's wrong 95% of the time. I don't want my pilots relying on weather.com. Thank you very much. Okay, so shifting gears to yeah, exactly. Exactly. There should be a service to the American people because we pay for it anyway. Anyway, you know, we've been talking about just how destructive, how quickly this regime has been. And Danielle pointed out that with the tariffs and pretty much everything else, what's happening with federal agencies, that is the swiftness of the dismantling, even for those of us who were prepared for it, is still gobsmacking. It just is. Like, how can you be prepared for that? It's so much worse when it's actually happening than when you know it's going to happen. And here we are in this horrific situation with our former ally, Ukraine, who desperately needs America to stand up for it. But because I just want to clarify something, I responded to that pretty quickly and almost in real time, and I was angry. That might be a an understatement. And I'd seen a lot of people saying that it was a setup, and I had just spoken to Alex Vindman the night before, and I was quite worried about the so-called agreement. And he actually, because he knows things, he actually said that the agreement was much better than he anticipated it would be, and that there were things in it for both sides that were reasonable. It's something he would have felt comfortable signing off on. It did not achieve peace, but it was not a bad agreement for Ukraine by any stretch. So that relaxed me a little bit. And then the White House thing happened, and a lot of people were talking about how Zelensky had been set up, and I was only viewing it from the lens of Vance was there to do the job that Donald couldn't do. He was there to be Donald's minder and make sure that Donald kind of kept out of it as much as possible. Mm-hmm. But then upon reflection, yes, Zelensky was totally set up. And I mean, I think what I said was accurate, but Vance was also there to provoke Zelensky, which made it almost inevitable that Donald was going to react in the way he did. And now Donald on Monday, ordered a halt to all U.S. military and aid shipments to Ukraine following that debacle. Because remember, Zelensky was escorted out like he's a thug, mm-hmm. which is disgraceful because he was the only respectful adult in the room. And the press conference that was supposed to follow was canceled. The pause applies to all military equipment not yet inside Ukraine, cutting off critical weapons like ATACMS, long-range missiles, which have enabled Ukraine to strike deep into Russian territory. Wow, I wonder why Donald doesn't want that to happen. And if I'm understanding this correctly, this is aid that has already been allocated by Congress, and to cancel it like this is unconstitutional. For the executive branch to interfere with this is illegal and unconstitutional. And in my view, draws the line very clearly that this country is completely on the side of Vladimir Putin and will do absolutely nothing. Or I should say, will actively act against Ukraine. There is a lot of blame to go around, which we all know. But Danielle, here we are.
It is, I said this the other day, it's just, if there was nothing else that you understood growing up, right? If there was nothing else, you didn't understand geopolitics, you didn't get, real thorough lessons in the Cold War, what was the one defining thing that you knew? Russia was the fucking enemy. Right. Everyone knew that, always. In every Hollywood movie, in every, production, it was always Russia. And to turn around now and to watch the Lindsey Grahams of the world, literally, the shucking and jiving that these people are doing, to say that, now the American people saw that the man in the White House isn't to be trusted. And I was like, yes, but we are not clearly looking at the same person. right? So, Donald Trump, we need another word for catastrophe.
Well,
Because
yes.
I'm like,
Trump.
between him saying, which again
Donald.
was a projection with regard to Zelensky gambling with World War III, we all know, pull out a map. Ukraine falls, Europe falls with it, right? But I believe that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, I believe that they have decided to split the world in a third, right? You, Donald Trump, take the Americas. Putin's going to take Europe, right? And Xi Jinping, I'm going to take Asia. And they'll probably, for the most part, leave the continent alone because they never decolonized it to fucking begin with, right?
Yeah.
So the fact is that we have to understand like the larger power plays that are happening. And I finally think by what was displayed on Friday in the Oval Office, that the Europeans are like, oh shit, right? Which is the oh shit that they should have had back in 2017 when his first action, I'm pulling out of the Paris Climate Agreement, I'm pulling out of this, I'm pulling out of that they should have over that time frame said what happens, not only if the United States is no longer our ally, but now is our enemy. We have the strongest military in the world. Now, we know that Hegseth wants to point that military towards the American people, which will be coming soon enough in spring and summer. But the reality is that the world, the Western world, has to figure out how they're going to survive and if they're going to survive, because they have never put in as much resources into bolstering their militaries in the way that the United States has, because, I don't know, they decided to give their people free health care, right? And put their tax dollars in other places because they never imagined a reordering of the post-World War II, right, axes. And that's where we are. So, I mean, it is between the global economy, between global stability, like there is not a word that can really capture where we are other than absolutely fucked. Like absolutely fucked. And if the people of this country do not rise up, do not figure it out, which our Democratic leaders have shown us with who they've chosen for the State of the Union response tonight, that they don't fucking get it. We're in for generations of austerity, instability, and destruction. Like there is no other way around that.
No, and having no rights anymore as well. I cannot disagree with the word you said. And Brian, the Ukraine situation just breaks my heart in a way I can't quite describe. I felt this way about it since the beginning. I stood by horrified while the Biden administration didn't do enough, especially when they knew what was going to be happening with the handoff. This is a war that could have been won very quickly if we had supported Ukraine in the way it needed to be supported. And, again, as Alex Vindman has pointed out, had not continued the completely misguided and wrong-headed approach to Russia since Ukrainian independence in 1991 that both Democratic and Republican administrations have followed. And here we are. And the difference between, don't get me wrong, I'm horrified by everything that's going on here, but you know what? A plurality of American voters chose it, and an entire political party, the fascist Republican Party, has abdicated completely. So, you know what? Again, we're finding out Ukraine deserves none of this, and it is just horrifying. We know that they can sustain, hopefully, its current fighting pace for several weeks, maybe until the summer. But then, the consequences on the battlefield are going to become severe and noticeable. European nations may have to replace some artillery, but Ukraine's most advanced weaponry comes from the United States, and it will be lost if the pause continues. And I'm not entirely sure why it wouldn't, because Zelensky has self-respect, and the Ukrainian people have a lot of pride, as they should. It's been over 3 years now, and look at what they have
11.
done. Look at what they have withstood, and yet this is what they have to deal with. Let's play this clip.
Meanwhile, Russia is making its first comment since the White House blow-up between President Trump and President Zelensky. The Kremlin says Zelensky does not want peace, and someone should make him want peace. This comes after Putin's spokesperson told a state TV reporter the Trump administration is rapidly changing U.S. foreign policy, and it is now, quote, largely in line with our vision.
Yeah.
There's another clip I also wanted to play, actually, but we can start there.
Well,
Excuse me. So usually a very good indication that you're on the wrong side of things is if what you're doing is making Russia happy.
well, how do we unpack all that? First of all, there's the Barry McGuire song, Eve of Destruction, that I kind of wonder if we're living. But, the fallout in the Oval Office began when JD Permanent Eyeliner Vance got up and said that had Donald Trump been president when when Putin invaded, this wouldn't have happened. He wouldn't have invaded. And he got it wrong. Russia invaded Ukraine when they invaded Crimea 11 years ago, almost exactly 11 years ago.
And what did we do, Brian? What did we do?
Yeah, nothing. We did nothing then. And by the way, and that's why Trump doesn't want to mention it, because he did nothing the first time he was in office. Now, my sources in the DOD who haven't been purged, and there are still a few of them left, have said the real problem here is Russia's running out. They have the 10th the size of the economy that we have. If you've talked with Alex Vindman, then you know that he is saying some of the same things. And he said, actually, what we want to do, the longer it takes to get a deal, that's better. You kick the can down the road, and it gives Ukraine a chance to harden its defenses. And look, so far, Russia has had to use North Korean and Iranian assets to persecute this war. They can't hold on forever. With a tenth of the size of the economy that we have, it's Russia that needs the deal now. Ukraine, I've been there. Those people aren't going anywhere. You can level that land, but you can't conquer it. When you have on your bus stops, at every bus stop, this is our land, we live above it. Russia, you can live below it. That kind of tells you where their mindset is. They're not going anywhere. And to the point that Trump makes, and this is the thing that bothers me more than anything else about this, is he said this on Air Force One in a gaggle with supposedly some of the most respected and experienced journalists. He said in this gaggle, he told us that they have no cards to play in this. Russia has all the cards. Excuse me, my land. This is my country. Imagine if in World War II, Franklin D. Roosevelt had told Russia, Russia, Germany invaded your land. They lost a lot of soldiers in there. You're just going to have to make peace. And Zelensky wants peace. Now, you can say he's arrogant. After all, Biden got in a disagreement with him on a phone, but the man's right. And we should be listening to the fact, not his attitude about the consternation.
I'm not entirely sure arrogant. He's fighting a war, and his country is being slaughtered.
They're saying that, but look, the man's fighting a war for survival. He has every right to have the consternation that he has. Put yourself in their shoes. For the love of God, the man's trying to keep and I remind everyone, when this invasion occurred, the second invasion occurred, we offered him a free ride out of there. And he said, I don't need a taxi. I need you to invest in my country so we can fight. He knew the weakness. He knew the fact that Russia is a paper tiger. The reason why Donald Trump wants this deal now is because his friend Vladimir Putin is in trouble. And those who say Donald Trump is an asset or Donald Trump is a willing fool or an unwilling fool, it doesn't matter which of those that he is. The fact of the matter is what's happening. Hold on, stay the course, and watch Russia crumble. Otherwise, we're going to, it's Vance and Musk who said, we want to get out of NATO. We want to get out of the UN. We started both of those for our security. This morning, Zelensky came out about a half hour ago and said, I want peace. It was unfortunate what happened in the Oval. Let's talk. He's making the overture. He also thanked Trump on numerous occasions in the White House when Vance said he didn't. The man has even offered to step down as president if they could end the war with their country intact and them in NATO. I'm sorry, but this is not the time to give in to Russia. This is the time to push Russia. And the fact that Donald Trump isn't pushing Russia is an indication not only of where his emotion lies, but where his pocketbook is. And that's because Donald Trump does nothing that isn't transactional. He does nothing that doesn't benefit him. And and I'm going to say this point blank. After 6 weeks of this second Donald Trump administration, I think it's abundantly apparent why he had to file bankruptcy in his private businesses 6 times. He cannot run it.
That has been abundantly clear for a very long time now. And actually, what I would say is that the time to put pressure on Russia was 3 years ago. But, what do I know?
Longer than that, when they first invaded.
Well, I mean, obviously, of course. But I mean, the Biden administration, missed opportunities. So many missed opportunities. Anyway, this is, I want to move on in a second because I want to talk about what's happening tonight. But this is what President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine is dealing with. Here's a clip from some remarks Donald made.
Well, I tell you what, I think it takes 2 to tango, and you're going to have to make a deal with Russia, and you're going to have to make a deal with Ukraine. You're going to have the assent, and you're going to have the consent from the European nations, because I think that's important, and from us. I think everybody has to get into a room, so to speak, and we have to make a deal. And the deal can be made very fast. It should not be that hard a deal to make. It can be made very fast. Now, maybe somebody doesn't want to make a deal. And if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long. That person will not be listened to very long because I believe that Russia wants to make a deal. I believe certainly the people of Ukraine want to make a deal. They've suffered more than anybody else. We talk about suffering. They've suffered. But if you think about it, under President Bush, they got Georgia, right? Russia got Georgia. Under President Obama, they got a nice big submarine base, a nice big chunk of land where they have their submarines. You know that, right? Crimea. Under President Trump, they got nothing. And under President Biden, they tried to get the whole thing. They tried to get the whole big Ukraine.
He's so vile and grotesque. I don't even know what to say anymore. But here's what President Zelensky just had to say, following on what Brian just said. Quote, "None of us wants an endless war. Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible. Wouldn't it be nice if they were allowed to bring lasting peace closer? Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians. My team and I stand ready to work under Donald's strong leadership." He didn't call him Donald, but I do. To get a peace that lasts, unquote. So, Norm, he's doing what he needs to do while still not allowing himself to be humiliated and debased, which is what Donald requires.
So we know that, of course, this was a setup. There's one good thing that's come of it. Not quite yet, but it appears to be that the Europeans are finally freeing up the almost $300 billion in seized, frozen Russian assets that they have and give them to Ukraine. If Ukraine has the money, they can buy the sophisticated weapons. It gives them many more months, and they're already making serious additional inroads against Russia, and it gives the Europeans a little bit more time to give them additional help. I want to give a quick shout out, another one. I went to high school with Neil Young and become friends with his wife, Daryl Hannah,
They're
who,
awesome.
as you know,
She's
is
lovely.
a transcendent talent and incredibly bright.
Yes.
And she had the opportunity, after being frozen out of most of the roles in Hollywood, as happens with women of a certain age, and she presented the award for editing at the Oscars, and almost alone among the performers started by saying "Slava Ukraina." So it wasn't a, in a real world, it's not a political statement. Now it's a statement of defiance. And then
Yes.
we have to add one other thing, which is Mike Lee, Elon Musk, and others on the drumbeat to say the US should pull out of NATO. We don't just have one Russian asset in the Oval Office. We have one in an office down the hall from him named J.D. Vance.
Yep.
We have one who comes to the Oval Office without a suit and never gets criticized in Elon Musk. We have another in the embarrassment to the family of Rex Lee, who was a man of integrity and served as Solicitor General under Richard Nixon, and his son, Mike Lee, who is a clear Russian asset. And we have to beware of the fact that it isn't just about Ukraine. It's about undermining Europe. And that is what Putin wants. And that is what his asset, Donald Trump, and their other puppets are trying to do.
Yeah, I want to turn to what's happening tonight, but just very quickly, it is the entire fascist Republican Party that is a Russian asset because, yes, there are plenty of people, not plenty, there are some people, Lankford, Murkowski, who are publicly saying, no, this is terrible. Show me what you're going to do about it. Show me what you're going to do. There are more people, more Senate Republicans in particular, I'm sure behind the scenes complaining to people like Brian about how awful they think it is, but they are moving in lockstep with this insanity, this depravity. So just like those of them who are completely cool with everything Donald and Elon Musk are doing to dismantle not just the federal government, but American democracy, you're not fascist adjacent anymore. You're fascist because you're not lifting a finger to stop it. So you don't get to complain. Seriously, grow up. All right. So tonight is an address, sadly, to the joint session of Congress. This is not a State of the Union address. Those only happen in the second, third, and fourth years of an administration or a regime in this case. So this is, I almost forgot. We're live streaming it and going to be commenting on it because we can take it. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be worth watching and worth hearing. I'm going to be joined by whichever nerds are available and, feeling up to it. So it's going to be worth watching and hearing what the nerds have to say, obviously, always. But here's what we know so far. Donald is going to highlight his restructuring plan. That's adorable. The Department of Government Efficiency, the most inaccurately named fake unconstitutional illegal agency ever, which is actually led by Elon Musk, unless they're in front of a judge, in which case it's led by some fictional woman nobody's ever heard of or met. Donald is also going to address his hardline immigration tactics and his tariff policies, which we've discussed. He's going to tout his radical foreign policy shifts. I am fascinated to see how he's going to square that circle. And as Danielle mentioned, the response on behalf of Democrats is going to be made by a freshman senator, junior senator from Michigan, Alyssa Slotkin, who is not the person I don't think any of us here would have picked. And she's expected to focus on economic concerns, Donald's close ties to Elon Musk, the administration's failure to address inflation, which of course was a major GOP campaign promise. But Danielle, I'd kind of like somebody to focus on the fascism and the destruction of the world order, maybe. And yeah, the price of eggs too.
According to Politico, moderate Democrats gathered last month to decide that they wanted to throw the entire left wing of the party under the bus.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And they decided that they wanted to concentrate on, what was it? Traditional American imagery, patriotism, and some other load of shit. It is incredible to witness the absolute stammering, fecklessness, flaccid nature of the Democratic Party in this moment, when you have notable stars who have wanted to throw their hat in the ring to be the next in line leaders of this party in a country that is unrecognizable at this moment. And instead, their response to extremism and fascism is moderation, and you think that the people are going to line up. And oh, by the way, the other pillar that these moderates had come up with outside of that February meeting was no longer relying on small dollar donors. So the response then was not only moderation to extremism, but let's also get in bed with corporations that have already aligned themselves with fascism and think that that's what is going to pull the Democratic Party back together. I will continue to say this. The Democratic Party is dead, and people need to understand that
Brain
this party
dead.
is not finding its way, and it's not finding its voice, and that if anything is going to change in this country, it is going to come from the grassroots. It is not going to come from the grass tops, because their heads are in their asses and they don't know where they are. And
Yeah.
the Onion had posted something just real quick
Mhm.
that it said, it was one of their headlines that said, Democrats think if they stand real still, no one will see them. And that's exactly like, that's it, it's like it's remarkable in its accuracy, right?
Yeah.
Like, just
Yeah.
if I stand real still, am I invisible? Do they notice me? You know,
Yeah.
like, okay, we're
Yeah.
inside a Jurassic Park and Donald Trump and MAGA is T-Rex, but let's just,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
change a plan.
It's like Homer Simpson backing up into the shrub. Oh,
Great
nobody can see
meme.
me now. But yes, it is. Which is the only reason I know it, because I don't watch The Simpsons. But to that point, and it's such a shame, because there are a lot of extremely talented people in the Democratic Party.
A few.
A few, but they don't have. They're not the heads of. For the most part, they're not leading, or they're not the minority leaders on a lot of these committees. I mean, a couple are, but most of them aren't. And it's as if the old guard just doesn't know what to do with them, which is appropriately pass the torch to them, but that's not happening. And the idea that Democrats continue to act as if there are any rules or norms anymore, like not
there's
our
norm right
norm
there.
kind of norm, but the norms that people follow, because our norm is so much more awesome than the other kinds of norms. But well, it's true. It surpasses my understanding, and I have a pretty good imagination, but I can't for the life of me imagine why this is the case. So, Brian, I want to show you this clip from just most awful, toadying, anti-Christian. I mean, not that I care, but he pretends to be one, and that's offensive even to me. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, had to say,
Yeah, he's a Johnson, all right.
he's hyping it up. So let's play the clip.
Give us your sense of what to expect on Tuesday night.
Well, fireworks, in a great way. President Trump is coming in a triumphant return to Congress to address us as the president once again. And in the first month of office, he has accomplished so much that it could fill 3 hours. I suspect he'll speak in a shorter time frame than that. But, Maria, there's so much to relay. The Democrats are uncomfortable with all this change. Why? Because they love big, bloated government spending.
Oh, 3 hours. No. And
right.
we know he can do it. We know he can do it. I can't. It's like that emoji. But yeah, Brian, it's all WWE now, isn't it? It's so
or
offensive.
idiocracy.
It's
Yes,
so
it is.
offensive.
Well, and Mike Johnson, Matthew 25:40, whatsoever you do to the least of my brothers, that you do unto me. Matthew is speaking to you there, baby. And I got to tell you that the Speaker of the House is one of those, they call it a Johnson for a reason. He is a Johnson, and he's a bad one, and a small one, maybe even mushroom shaped. But the problem
All right,
with
come on, move on.
Okay, but the problem with Johnson and the problem with Trump is, look, it's all about the grab. It's all about, look, Doge is all about getting into your computer system and stealing everything. By the way, Norm, what you were saying earlier about the FAA, it's worse. You know what? It's really bad. He wants to take all those links. Do you realize you'll have to retrofit not only every commercial, but every private airplane with Tesla or Musk specific material? Donald Trump wants to make sure that he gets the cash grab. Tonight, if he's on stage, I would not be surprised if he declared a national emergency and dissolved Congress. And say, look, from now on, it's me and me only. I wouldn't be. Now, Will he do it? Probably not. But at the same time, what you should be expecting tonight is more of the grift. And to watch Johnson sit there and kiss his butt drives me insanely crazy, because it's members of his staff who have also said he's gone too far. I'm calling you out right now. You're a liar, because I've heard you in private, and that's not what you say. The Democrats have no, Daniel, you nailed it. As I've said, two parties in this country, one has no heart and one has no head. And the Democrats have no head for this fight. They never have. And the idea of staying still, when I talk to them about that, they're going, well, it's FAFO. I go, no, you're the Royal Opposition Party. We
That
already
doesn't mean
did
do
the
nothing.
Yeah.
You've got to protect. Your investment is in the American people. You work for us. I would like to see you do your job instead of eating your own, instead of going after the progressives, and the progressives going after the moderates, and moderates going after the conservatives, instead of fighting amongst each other in this big tent party. When are you going to realize we're all in the same boat and at least stick an oar in the water and go in the right direction?
Yeah, we got to wrap up, Brian, because we're out of time.
If you're busy telling you how righteous you are, you're not.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm beginning to wonder about the heart part, actually, too. So just very quickly before I get to a couple of quick comments, this is the potential protesting we're going to see tonight. Their outfits may be color-coded. Very exciting. They may bring props, empty egg cartons, woohoo, hand clappers, and red cards. And some of them will bring guests who are directly impacted, as if anybody is going to notice that. There is some talk of attend versus walking out. Again, don't go. Every seat should be empty. Or if you're going, stand up and turn your backs. Come on, stop it. Stop it. Speaking of needing to grow up, Democrats.
Yeah.
Is it really that hard given where we are right now, given what the American people are withstanding right now? Anyway, not meeting the moment by any stretch of the imagination. All right. So very quickly, just want to thank a couple of people. Canadian AGM, thank you so much. So sorry for what's going on, but I'm so glad you guys are fighting back. Comment, keep up the goodiest work. Marion Avengers, we will. Thank you. Cheryl, super sticker, another Canadian. Thank you. That's awesome. KJ Crafts, thank you so much. Comment, tariffs are the smoke screen, stopping it to Ukraine, handing power to Putin. That's what our focus should be. Yeah, well, I think honestly we got to focus on everything, and it's exhausting, but we're doing it. We're doing it. Maggie 1358, super sticker. Thank you so very much. That's very generous of you. Elise, thank you. That's fantastic. We really appreciate it. Liberté, thank you so much. Question, what would it take actually to disqualify this administration from office on the basis of being traitors? Nothing. We don't have any power. Unfortunately, we're stuck with them. The thing to do would be have impeached him, convicted him, tried him, put him in prison, or at least not put him back into office. But we missed that boat. Focus Lady, thank you so very much. Comment, realist talk on the planet, Maslow hierarchy of needs, and Emil Durkheim, Anami had some things to say about it. Yes, in fact, they absolutely did. Check those people out because they're brilliant. Penny, super sticker, thank you so much. That's great. Sherry, very generous. We really appreciate it. Comment, dictators want people broke, sick, and scared so they control them. I made a video about that. It's called, it's almost called that, actually. Check it out. So they can control them. Hate to tell MAGAs, but dictators do not allow their citizens to have, I don't know what that is. Their precious, guns. Their precious automatic guns. Guess who's really gonna take your guns away? Mm-hmm. Yep, that's coming next. Dumpster Diving Dragon, one of the greatest handles ever. Super sticker, thank you so much. And again, thank you very much. Let's see.
Diving Dragon. I like that.
Yeah. Lone Hanson, I don't know that currency, but I'm going to check it out. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Dear nerds, question, how would the most appropriate way for European leaders to treat your uncle? Totally ignore him or any advice. Thanks to all of you for all your hard work. You're welcome. Mock him mercilessly. Show him no respect whatsoever.
Feed him lots of cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
He's got that covered. Barb Sharon, super sticker. Thank you so much, Barb. Lokai, another super sticker. That's great. Thank you. Jim Smith, awesome. Thank you for your emoji comment. Those count. Gina, super sticker. Thanks so very much, Gina. Oh, sorry, I did the wrong thing again. Kevin, another super sticker. Thank you. You guys rock. Warren, another super sticker. Thank you so very much. AGM, again, thank you. Comment, love your passion for Ukraine, supporting Ukraine. What are Americans going to do for their own well-being? Well, we're working on that too. Lot to figure out. Like, there's a lot of shoes are still about to drop. Kim Cat, that's fantastic. Thank you. Comment, Mary, check out Malcolm Nance, a brother, former CIA, MSNBC secretary, has sounded alarm Trump since on Donald since his book 2015, The Plot to Destroy America, Plot to Hack America. Yep, Nance has been on this stuff for a long time. Christy, super sticker, thank you very much. It's very generous and extremely helpful. And finally, Sweet G12651, also very generous. You guys have no idea how much we appreciate your super stickers and everybody who gives us gifts. It really helps keeps our lights on and makes us continue to be able to do this work. It's very gratifying that you guys are willing to help us out. To everybody watching on YouTube, to the dwindling number of people watching on Twitter, can't imagine why that's happening. And to everybody, somebody over there really hates me. And to everybody listening to the podcast, thank you so much. Your comments are fantastic. They keep us on our toes. And of course, to our moderators who keep this place somewhere everybody wants to be, and our growing community. For those of you who don't know, we have surpassed 300,000 followers, and that's very exciting. I think we're almost at 305. So it's going to keep this thing going. And of course, to my extraordinary team who makes this all possible and makes me look good, even under the worst of circumstances. Do not forget, we are live streaming Donald's remarks in front of a joint session of Congress. That starts at 9 o'clock, although he's usually late because he's very rude and thoughtless, so who knows? But we'll be starting at 8:45 to pregame it. I will be with some nerds, and I think it's going to be really worth your while. But we're done for now. Thank you so much, Danielle Moody, Brian Karam, Norm Ornstein. You guys are phenomenal, and I love spending time with you. So we'll see you tonight. Obviously, Mary Trump Live every night, 6 p.m. Eastern, and videos dropping all the time. So subscribe, click on that bell. You'll be notified, like and share the videos, all that good stuff. I will see you later. In the meantime, everybody, please stay safe and be kind. Bye.